Last night I went to an open stage at the Star Day, which is a predominantly musical open stage, like mine was, and um, there were two stand-up comedians. Among the performers were two stand-up comedians and a poet, and I was reminded of um, some thoughts I've shared with my friend Todd Basil, who's a very talented stand-up comedian who used to be a regular at my open stage, about the considerations of performing stand-up comedy at a predominantly musical open stage. And I think it extends a little bit to other spoken word, but it's mostly about stand-up comedy. And in this particular case, the other spoken word, a poet, actually kind of bolsters the underlying argument about kind of the mood of the room. Comedy mask, tragedy mask. So to start with, let me say this: the comedians were pretty decent, and they were doing decent material that would have gone well, that would have gone over well, in my estimation, at a comedy open mic. It's not that their comedy was not up to snuff. Their comedy was solid. Um, they experienced the very common reaction of what feels like bombing because they're not getting laughs. They're not getting like a, a bubbling brook of chuckles leading to a bigger laugh the way you would in a room that's primed for comedy, but in a room that's primed for music, because this was a room full of other performers who wanted to be supportive, who wanted to be attentive. But how they're primed to exhibit that is to be quiet, eyes forward, paying attention, listening intently, and clapping at the end. And I know we're all humans and we know how to listen to stand-up comedy, but you'd be surprised, like the mood of the room actually takes a little effort to switch. And so imagine for a moment, if you will, if the opposite were the case. If I, a a very tragic songwriter, if I were to go to a predominantly comedy open mic and sing my songs, imagine for a moment that the audience is tolerant, the audience of comedians is tolerant, and they want to be supportive, but what I'm doing is so out of place with the mood of the room that I might feel like they're not paying attention. I might feel like they're being a little noisy. They're not going to probably just switch immediately to eyes forward, listening intently, being quiet, creating a big sonic space for me to fill, and just letting it all unfold like that, which is sort of the perfect musical reaction. And what you often get at a supportive open stage of musicians is them providing just that. To a comedian, that sounds like death. It's like there's nothing going on, there's no sound, I'm not getting anything out of them. So what I've talked to Todd about in the past is this idea that, as cliche as it is, like sometimes you got to let the audience know to put on a different mask, to put on a different style of supportiveness. So sometimes you, as the host, should do the corny work of sort of priming the audience that, hey, we've got a stand-up comedian coming up next, and they'd love to hear you laugh when something tickles your funny bone. So just let them know that you appreciate their jokes and laugh when you're feeling it. Or say the whole, are you ready to laugh? Here comes so and so. By contrast, I will say this: the poet, the music, the mood of the room, the somber, supportive mood of the room was perfect for the poet. So it really is about like what's the mood of the room and what's their expectation. How are they primed to be supportive? You got to switch it for comedians, and then you got to they'll be ready to switch back for musicians and poets. So just some food for thought, and until next time, I'll see you at the open stage.